How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a video on 5 cheap sleeper cars that you can buy for under £20,000. Now these are cars that us in the car world might think are pretty fast, or we might know them to be slightly decent cars, but to the untrained eye they'd look at those cars and think meh, boring, saloon, estate, nothing major. And that would be a massive oversight because these cars are all absolutely rapid. Now at 20 grand the cars in this video are pretty nice, and if you want me to do even cheaper cars then make this video hit 1,000 likes and I will do it for under £10,000. There are literally cars that are probably as fast as the cars in this video and even more unassuming. Remember that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and remember that whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's get started with the car you won't see too often on the roads here in the UK, and to the untrained eye, only the rear spoiler, sporty alloys, and a few aggressive design features would indicate the car's prowess. That is the Vauxhall VXR8, which has a whopping 6.2 litre V8 engine beneath the bonnet, putting out 424 brake horsepower, which gets it from 0 to 60 in just 4.9 seconds. The car was built to rival German counterparts like the C63 AMG and the BMW M5, but wasn't originally a Vauxhall, as it was Holden in Australia that responsible for the base Commodore and the subsequent more savage examples. Holden special vehicles are like the AMG of Mercedes or the SRT of Dodge, and they built the Holden Club Sport, which ultimately was imported to the UK as the Vauxhall VXR8, as a successor to the Vauxhall Monaro VXR. This takes its lineage from another classic sleeper that has achieved its own cult following, the Vauxhall Lotus Carlton. Early examples came with the 6 litre LS2 engine, and from late 2008 the 6.2 litre LS3 hit the market as a replacement. As of 2020, there are only around 400 VXR8s on the roads here in the UK, with around 50 GTSs still going too. So not only are these a little unassuming, they're also massively rare. They have better braking power than a Lamborghini Gallardo, more power than a Gen 1 V8 R8, and yet still 5 seats, 4 doors, a reasonably sized boot, plus it's literally a Vauxhall. The interior is pretty nice too, and though there is a lot of plastic in there, I do quite like the beefy dashboard and the hefty VXR sports seats. £16,000 is around the minimum you'll find these listed for, and for 20 grand you're looking at a 2009 model with around 70,000 miles on the clock. Remember that these are incredibly rare, so you won't have as much choice as other cars on this list. The key benefit to buying one of these is engine reliability. That LS3 is exceptionally strong, and it's not put through much strain in the VXR8. The bodywork has also proven to be strong, and although the interior is somewhat cheap, if you look at the ones on sale, it's proven to be quite hard wearing. Some owners have noted that overall build quality is a bit hit and miss though, with water ingress in the footwell, lights misting up, and some have had problems with their diffs. Replacement parts are relatively cheap too compared to other cars on this list, but still not objectively cheap, and it's worth noting the market for these cars is quite small, so they can be difficult to sell on. That'll be the least of your worries while you own it though, as 18 miles per gallon is around what you can expect out of these. Next up we have what is basically a luxury executive saloon with a massive engine chucked into it. It's the Jaguar XFR with its 5 litre supercharged V8, which produces 502 brake horsepower and will get the car to 60 in 4.7 seconds. And though this isn't the most savage spec XF, its lack of extra features to make it look like a sports car, which the XFRS gets, ensures it sits well within the sleeper category in my books. It's also slightly more efficient than the VXR8 at 22 miles per gallon, but you'll still be spending a lot of time at the petrol station. The XFR replaced the S-Type and was designed by Callum to fit the same basic platform as that car, though heavily modified, which is interesting as in my books they are very different looking cars. It takes design cues from previous Jags like the oval mesh grills from the 1968 XJ, and came in multiple different specs, with the R being the top of the line before the S came along. Compared to the standard car, the R gets a slightly modified front and rear bumper with a small lip spoiler on the boot, some vents on the bonnet, and some slightly different alloy options. Other than that, the car looks incredibly similar to non-performance examples, giving it that sleeper allure. No one's expecting you to put out 500 plus brake horsepower from one of these. A slightly modified XFR even held the record for the fastest Jaguar ever at 225 miles per hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats, so this car really has some performance behind that executive styling. The interior is reasonable too. I'd say it's not aged exceptionally well, but a black on black spec seems to look half decent still, and it was an early adopter of the Jaguar Drive gear selector, which has become a staple in Jags today. If you're lucky, you'll find one one spec'd with the Bowers and Wilkins speakers too, which slaps. The minimum you'll find these listed for is around £12,000, and for £20,000 you're looking at a 2009 example with around 30,000 miles on the clock. Jag do have a bad reputation for long-term reliability, and though many owners have noted that with correct servicing the engine has been fine, some have had catastrophic failures which aren't kind to the wallet. Common problems are mostly electrical though, such as the start-stop button not working and the car getting stuck in park and not engaging drive. Next up we have the C6 Audi RS6, which to the untrained eye is literally just a boring family estate or saloon. Whenever I've expressed my interest in buying one, my girlfriend has always said, why? It looks like a boring dad car. I'm not sure many people realise this boring dad car has a 5-litre twin turbocharged V10 engine, which makes 571 brake horsepower, more than any other car on this list, taking it from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. This is the second generation Audi RS6, available between 2008 and 2011, and built to be the high performance example of the A6 obviously. That said, sorry to those of you in the US, you only got the S6 as your highest performance example. In 2010 the RS6 was the most powerful car ever built by Audi, and it has a de-restricted top speed of around 170 miles per hour. The car comes as either a saloon or an estate, but it's the estate that I like the most in terms of sleeper value, as estates literally exist to be practical haulers, yet this one will blow the majority of opponents into a different dimension in a lights race. It's wider than the S6 and the A6 with its flared wheel arches, which are meant to be reminiscent of the old school Audi Quattro, and across the board the car has a slightly more aggressive stance, but this doesn't take away from the fact that to the naked eye it's a slightly old and boring estate, with up to 1,660 litres of storage space, which is just nuts. On performance it has some absolute madness too, like the Torsen LSD, which enables intelligent torque distribution between the front and rear wheels depending on road conditions, massive 6-pot Brembo brakes on cross-drilled, vented and floating discs, Audi's dynamic ride control to adjust stiffness and give the car maximum grip, and of course the same engine as the R8, S6 and S8, but with 400 of its own unique parts. The interior is sporty too, with a clean Audi style and nice Recaro sports seats if spec'd. £15,000 the lowest you'll find these listed for, and they've pretty much hit the bottom of their depreciation curve at this point I reckon. For £20,000 you get a 2008 model with around 85,000 miles on the clock. Look for oil at the back of the engine, which is the result of a leaking seal in the oil pump that costs just 50p on its own, but in terms of a full fix of this issue you're looking at upwards of £2,000 if you can't do it yourself. Also, coolant pipes are known to rot and leak fluid as they run around the wheel arches, so do be wary of this. The hydraulic dampers are also known for leaking. Basically, fluid is the main problem of these RS6s. So I hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, make sure you hit the like button. As I said, 1,000 likes and I'll do this at sub £10,000. Also go follow me on Instagram at carswithjb, and if you want to get involved in the community even more, go and check out the Discord server, link in the description. I've been on there, chatting to all you great lot. It's really interesting to see your guys' cars and that good stuff. And let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite sleeper car? It could be any price range. What is your favorite sleeper car? Let's get back to the video. In second, it's a car that I don't talk about enough on this channel, which is a shame as it comes with an unreal soundtrack despite ultimately being another uprated executive saloon. That is the W204 Mercedes C63 AMG with its 6.3 litre V8 naturally aspirated engine, putting out 450 brake horsepower, which takes the car from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. This really is a proper beast, and though the car has respect and notoriety amongst car people, outside of our circles it's just another saloon. It comes as a saloon, coupe or estate, and I would argue that the more sleeperish versions are the saloon and estate examples, as they just give off a more standard Mercedes vibe, especially in a plain spec. The estate in particular goes back to boring dad car vibes for those without decent car knowledge. This is especially true with the W204, as across all models it was the most sold Mercedes at the time, so it wasn't rare in the slightest. And I mentioned it's a 6.3 litre block, it's actually much closer to a 6.2 litre engine at 6,208cc, but that doesn't match the 63 name now, does it? Mercedes basically took liberties with that one in my opinion. It actually nicks a bunch of its parts off of other Mercedes cars, like the automatic AMG speed shift transmission from the SL63 AMG and the AMG performance steering wheel off of the CLS63 AMG. The car is known for handling amazingly well and offering some fun on track too with a loose rear end. If you can get the performance pack, you gain some extra horsepower too, as well as some composite discs on the front, and some carbon fibre features on the exterior. £15,000 is the lowest I could find these listed for online, and for £20,000 you're looking at a 2011 example with around 50,000 miles on it. There are some catastrophic engine problems that lead to head gasket failure and the requirement of a new engine, but I wouldn't worry about this as they are exceptionally rare, particularly in European or UK models. Instead, watch out for crankshaft wear and a leaking intake manifold, as these are far more prevalent issues. Post-facelift cars have also known to suffer from gearbox overheating, which can apparently be fixed by fitting a Black Series cooling upgrade, though this is actually quite expensive. All in, not an awful car in reliability, but at 20 miles per gallon don't expect it to be a cheap car to run. Taking the top spot in this list is the F10 BMW M5, which aesthetically is not too dissimilar to your average M Sport diesel 5 Series. But once you check the performance, you realise why this car comes in at number 1. It has a 4.4 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, putting out 552 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of just 4.2 seconds. If you're in the US, you got lucky with these, as BMW offered you a manual gearbox and not just the auto box we get in other markets, but that auto box is a dual clutch transmission, the first time an M5 ever received this. The car is hugely capable for a 4-door executive saloon, evidenced by its Nürburgring lap time of 7 minutes and 55 seconds, which is as fast as a Caterham R500 Superlight, which is literally built to go fast on track. Not bad for a car that weighs almost 2 tons. It's also quicker than cars like the Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale, BMW M2, Aston Martin Vantage, and Porsche 996 GT3, all very capable cars in their own right. This track performance is helped by massive 6-pot calipers with optional carbon ceramic brakes if spec'd. It also has an active diff to manage torque vectoring between the rear wheels, and of course performance suspension and the likes. Compared to the standard car, other than the telling side vents, the alloys, the bumpers and the side skirts, you really might be fooled into thinking this is a boring everyday saloon. A shame that it's not quite as special as the E60 M5 though, and though I know all M5s end up being worth something in the future, I can't imagine this one achieving the same status as that nutty V10. The minimum you'll manage to get one of these for is around £15,500, and for 20 grand you're looking at a 2012 example with around 60,000 miles on the clock. There are some known issues on these, like clunking from the coils at the rear on earlier cars, a loose pipe clip on the induction system, long brake warm-up times, fuel pressure sensor failures or high pressure fuel pump issues, and brake pad sensor failures too. Many of these issues were solved post 2012, so if you can get a newer example you'll likely be happier, but at least you know the majority of problems appear to be sensor or electrical related. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate a subscription if you're not subscribed already. I think like 90% of you or 88% of you aren't subscribed, which is pretty crazy. Massive thank you to the patrons as always, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.